They told you Set was the villain, the murderer, the Egyptian devil, the god of chaos and darkness who betrayed his noble brother Osiris and plunged the world into despair. They gave you a simple story of good versus evil, light versus dark, and they made sure you knew which side to be on. But that story is a lie. Not because the events didn't happen, but because their meaning was deliberately twisted, simplified, and weaponized to keep you afraid of the most essential force in your own evolution. Set was never the enemy of the divine. He was its most painful, necessary, and misunderstood catalyst. He is the storm that shatters your comfortable illusions, the fire that purifies your soul, the sacred chaos that forces you to grow or be destroyed. The systems that control this world need you to fear chaos. They need you to worship predictable, sterile order. They demonized Set because he represents everything they cannot control: your raw power, your untamed spirit, your refusal to conform. They turned a cosmic principle into a cartoon villain so you would never dare to look deeper. So you would never realize that the very force you were taught to fear is the key to your own resurrection. This is not the story of a villain. This is the story of the forgotten hero, the divine catalyst whose sacred act of destruction set in motion the entire journey of human awakening. And if you are ready to stop seeing the world in black and white, if you are brave enough to walk into the desert and face the uncomfortable truth, you will find that Set was never trying to destroy you. He was trying to set you free. To understand Set, you must first understand his domain, the Red Desert. To the ordered, civilized mind, the desert is a place of death. Barren, hostile, empty. But to the mystic, the desert is the ultimate place of initiation. It is the crucible where all that is false is burned away. In the lush, fertile valley of the Nile, the world of Osiris, life is easy. There are distractions, comforts, illusions. But in the desert, there is nothing, nothing to hide behind, nothing to distract you. There is only you and the raw, untamed presence of reality. The desert strips you down to your absolute essence. It is the place of profound purification, where the soul is forced to confront itself without the buffer of society, status, or belief. Set is the lord of this barren place. He is the master of the Crucible. His energy is not gentle or nurturing. It is fierce, direct, and uncompromising. It is the spiritual friction that polishes the soul. This is why Set was also known as the god of foreigners, of outcasts, of those who lived on the fringes beyond the borders of the comfortable kingdom. He represents the part of you that doesn't fit in, the rebel, the questioner, the one who refuses to accept the status quo. While Osiris represents the harmony of the collective, Set represents the fierce sovereignty of the individual. He is the force that breaks from the herd, that challenges dogma, that dares to walk a different path. Society teaches you to fear this part of yourself, to suppress your uniqueness, to conform, to be a part of the fertile valley. But true spiritual power is often forged in the desert of isolation, in the courage to be an outsider. And then there is Set's immense primal power. He was known for his incredible strength, his raw vitality, his untamable, violent energy. This is not mere brutality. It is a symbol of the serpent energy, the kundalini, the primal life force that lies coiled at the base of your own spine. It is the untamed, libidinal, creative power that the modern world has taught you to fear and suppress. They want your power to be domesticated, predictable, and channeled into work, consumption, and obedience. Set represents the power that refuses to be tamed. It is the raw energy of life itself in all its chaotic, beautiful, and terrifying glory. And they demonized it because they cannot control it. You have known this energy in your own life. You have walked through your own spiritual deserts, those times when your world fell apart, when you felt lost, abandoned, and stripped of everything you thought you were. You were taught to see these moments as failure, as signs that you were cursed or broken. But that is the lie. Those were your initiations. Those were the moments the SETH principle intervened in your life, burning away your illusions, shattering your attachments, and forcing you to find a strength you never knew you had. The desert is not a punishment. It is a gift. It is the sacred space where you die to your false self and discover the indestructible essence of who you truly are. SETH does not lead you into the desert to abandon you. He leads you there to force you to find your own way out, stronger, wiser, and forged in the fire of absolute truth. The sacred murder, the central act that defines SETH as the ultimate villain. He tricks his brother Osiris into a coffin, seals it, and casts it into the river. Later, he dismembers the body and scatters the pieces. In the simple story, this is an act of pure evil, born of jealousy and a lust for power. But in the deeper, esoteric reading of the myth, this is not a murder. It is a sacred, alchemical necessity. Osiris, in his initial form, represents a state of static, peaceful perfection. It is a beautiful state, but it is a state without growth. It is harmony without evolution. For a new, higher, more dynamic form of consciousness to be born, that perfect but stagnant state had to be shattered. SETH is the agent of that shattering. He is not just a jealous brother. He is a cosmic functionary, the catalyst who initiates the next stage of evolution. Think of the alchemical process, the great work of transforming lead into gold. The very first stage, the negredo, is the blackening, the dissolution. You must first break down the raw material, destroy its current form, reduce it to its primal essence, before you can begin the work of purification and reconstitution. SETH is the alchemical fire. He is the force that performs the negredo on the soul of the world. He kills the old, perfect but limited self, Osiris, so that a higher self can eventually be born. His act of destruction is not an end. It is the violent, necessary beginning of the journey of resurrection. Without SETH's intervention, there is no story. Isis would never have embarked on her sacred quest to find the pieces. Her divine magic and devotion would never have been activated. Osiris would never have been remembered and resurrected as the eternal lord of a higher dimension. And most importantly, Horus, the divine child of the awakened consciousness, would never have been conceived. SETH's betrayal is the trigger for the entire evolutionary drama. He is the darkness that gives birth to the possibility of a greater light. Now, look at your own life. The moments of greatest chaos, the most painful endings, the times your world was shattered, the job you lost, the relationship that ended in heartbreak, the belief system that crumbled and left you in a void. You were taught to see these as tragedies, as random misfortunes, as evidence of a cruel world. But what if they were not? What if those were interventions by the SETH principle? What if that chaos was a sacred act, designed to break you out of a life that was too small for your soul? A life that was comfortable but stagnant. A life that was safe but asleep. The universe, through the force of SETH, will shatter the coffin you have trapped yourself in. It will dismember the false identity you cling to, not to punish you, but to force you onto the path of your own resurrection. It forces you to become Isis, to go searching for the lost pieces of yourself. It forces you to die to who you were, so you can be reborn as who you are meant to be. This is the uncomfortable, terrible, and beautiful truth of chaos. It is the engine of creation. The systems of this world, religious, political, social, preach order, stability, and predictability. They want you to fear change, to resist disruption, to stay within the lines. Because a predictable population is an obedient population, but the universe does not value stability over growth. It values evolution. And evolution requires stress. It requires challenge. It requires the chaotic force of SETH to break down old structures so that new, more resilient ones can be built. The greatest moments of growth in your life did not come from comfort. They came from the fire. They came after the fall. You did not find your strength in the peaceful kingdom of Osiris. You forged it in the red desert of SETH. He was never your enemy. He was your initiator. If SETH is merely the god of destructive chaos, then this next truth will shatter that illusion entirely. For there is another story, a story just as ancient, where SETH is not the villain, but the ultimate protector. Every night, the sun god Ra journeys through the whole underworld, the Duat in his solar bark, bringing light to the spirits of the dead and ensuring his own rebirth at dawn. But this journey is fraught with peril. For in the deepest, darkest part of the underworld lurks the ultimate embodiment of chaos, the great serpent, Apep. Apep is not like SETH. Apep is the chaos of non-being, the serpent of entropy, the force of absolute dissolution that seeks to unmake all of creation, to swallow the light and return the universe to a state of mindless, eternal void. And on this perilous journey, every god in the pantheon is on board the solar bark, but only one is strong enough, fierce enough, and chaotic enough to stand at the prow and defend the light. That god is SETH. Every night, it is SETH who wields his spear and slays the serpent Apep, ensuring that the sun can rise again. The other gods, even Horus, are powerless against this primal force of nothingness. This reveals a profound and paradoxical truth. The Lord of Chaos, SETH, is the only one capable of defeating absolute chaos. This is not a contradiction. It is a deep mystical teaching. It tells us that you cannot fight the ultimate darkness with polite, ordered goodness alone. The forces of nihilism, apathy, and spiritual despair are too powerful. To combat the serpent of the void, you need a different kind of energy. You need the focused, disciplined, warrior chaos of SETH. You must meet fire with a more intentional fire. SETH's chaos is the chaos of life, of vitality, of storms and struggle. Apep's chaos is the chaos of death, of silence, of the end of all things. SETH in this role is the embodiment of the raw, primal will to exist, the divine warrior who protects the spark of consciousness from the endless night. Now, bring this into your own psyche. Apep is the voice of your own inner void. It is the serpent of depression that whispers, "Nothing matters. Why bother? It's all meaningless. Just give up." It is the force of addiction that seeks to dissolve your consciousness into oblivion. It is the profound spiritual apathy that can swallow your soul. How do you fight this? Not with platitudes, not with positive thinking alone. You fight it by awakening your inner SETH. You fight it with your own primal life force, your righteous anger against your own limitations, your untamed will to live, to create, to fight for the light of your own awareness. Set is the sacred warrior within you. He is the part of you that gets up when you have been knocked down. He is the part of you that says no to your own self-destruction. He is the fierce, protective energy that guards the fragile flame of your spirit, your inner Ra, when it journeys through your own dark nights of the soul. The system has taught you to fear this part of yourself, to suppress your anger, to judge your ambition, to be ashamed of your raw power. They want you to be passive, gentle, and compliant, but a sheep cannot fight a wolf. By teaching you to deny your inner Set, they have left you defenseless against your own inner Apep. They have disarmed the warrior who was meant to protect you. And so, you struggle with apathy, with a lack of motivation, with a sense of powerlessness, never realizing that the very energy you need to overcome it is the energy you've been taught to condemn. Embracing your inner Set is not about becoming a destructive, cruel person. It is about integrating your warrior spirit. It is about learning to wield your power with consciousness and integrity. It is about having the strength to face your own demons and the courage to slay the serpent of your own despair. It is about understanding that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is fight. Fight for your life. Fight for your truth. Fight for your light. Set was never just the one who killed the king. He was also the one who saved the sun. And within you, that same paradox exists. You hold both the power to shatter your old world and the strength to defend your new one. Given the complex, powerful, and necessary role of Set as both a catalyst for evolution and a defender of the light, why has history remembered him only as a villain? Why has his image been so thoroughly tarnished, his positive attributes erased, his name made synonymous with evil? Because as civilizations evolved, their values changed, and the untamed, unpredictable power that Set represented became a direct threat to the new world order they were trying to build. The demonization of Set was a political and spiritual act of war against your own sovereign power. In the early days of Egyptian civilization, Set was a revered and powerful god, especially in Upper Egypt. He was a god of strength, of the wild, of the storm. He was a warrior. But as Egypt became more unified and centralized, the values of the society shifted. The new order, centered around the agricultural abundance of the Nile, prized stability, predictability, and collective harmony above all else. This was the world of Osiris. And in this new world, Set's wild, chaotic, individualistic nature was no longer seen as a necessary force. It was seen as a threat. The priests and pharaohs who sought to create a perfectly ordered, controllable society began to systematically rewrite the myths. Set, the powerful outcast, was slowly transformed into Set, the treacherous usurper. His story was flattened, his complexities erased. He became a simple, one-dimensional symbol of everything that threatened their rigid order. This process accelerated dramatically when foreign powers began to influence and eventually conquer Egypt. The Hyksos, the Persians, the Greeks, and finally the Romans all brought their own gods and their own cosmologies. To consolidate their power, they often mapped their own concepts of evil onto the native Egyptian gods. Set, with his chaotic nature and fearsome appearance, was the perfect candidate. He became the prototype for the ultimate spiritual antagonist. As the influence of Zoroastrianism, with its stark dualism of absolute good and absolute evil, spread, and later, as Christianity rose to dominance, the deal was sealed. The nuanced Egyptian understanding of cosmic balance was replaced by a moralistic war between God and the devil. and Set was cast in the role of the great enemy. His sacred animals were deemed unclean, his temples were destroyed or rededicated. His name became a curse. But this was never just about a god. It was a war against the Set principle within every human being. By demonizing Set, the systems of control were demonizing your own untamed power, your raw passion and sexuality. That was labeled lust, a sin. Your righteous anger at injustice, that was wrath to be suppressed. Your fierce ambition and desire to forge your own path, that was pride, the greatest sin of all. Your connection to your primal, instinctual self was severed. You were taught to fear your own power, to be ashamed of your intensity, to domesticate your spirit and place it in service of a system that did not have your best interests at heart. You were taught to be a good, obedient citizen of the fertile valley and to fear the wild desert within. The consequences of this suppression are all around us today. We live in a spiritually anemic world, terrified of chaos, addicted to comfort, and disconnected from our own primal vitality. We have pathologized our own strength. We medicate our intensity. We shame our ambition. We have cut ourselves off from the very energy that is meant to propel our evolution and defend our light. We have become a society of sheep, having forgotten that we also carry the spirit of the untamed desert wolf. We have suppressed our inner Set, and in doing so, we have become vulnerable to the true serpent, Apep, the creeping void of apathy, meaninglessness, and quiet despair that haunts the modern soul. They didn't just want to kill a god, they wanted to kill the god inside of you, the untamable, sovereign, powerful part of you that would never, ever bow to a false king. And, for centuries, they almost succeeded. But they forgot one thing. The desert is not just a place of death. It is also a place of resilience. And the spirit of Set can never be truly destroyed. It can only be buried, waiting for a time when the world needs its fierce, liberating chaos once again. That time is now. So, what does it mean to reclaim your inner Set today? It does not mean embracing cruelty, destruction for its own sake, or mindless violence. That is the cartoon version of Set, the lie they sold you. To reclaim your inner Set is to embark on the path of the spiritual rebel. It is to have the courage to question everything, to challenge authority, both external and internal, and to refuse to live a life that is not authentically your own. It means embracing change, even when it is painful. It means seeing the moments of chaos in your life not as curses, but as sacred opportunities for growth. It means being willing to walk through your own personal desert, to be stripped of your illusions, so you can discover the unshakable truth of your being. It is the path of radical self-responsibility. To walk with Set is to finally integrate your shadow warrior. For too long, spirituality has been presented as a passive, gentle, light-only affair. You've been taught to suppress your negative attributes, your anger, your ambition, your power, your boundaries. But this creates a fractured, incomplete self. Integrating your inner Set means acknowledging these powerful energies not as sins to be purged, but as sacred tools to be wielded with consciousness. Your anger, when disciplined, becomes a powerful force for justice and change. Your ambition, when aligned with purpose, becomes the engine of creation. Your power, when tempered with wisdom, becomes your ability to protect yourself and those you love. You stop being a victim and become the conscious warrior of your own life. This is how you learn to stand at the prow of your own solar bark and defend your inner light from the serpent of apathy and despair. This path presents you with a fundamental choice. the choice that stands before every awakening soul. You can choose the initial kingdom of Osiris, a life of comfort, stability, and peaceful stagnation. A life within the known, fertile valley, where you follow the rules and never question too deeply. Or you can choose the path of SETH, a life of evolution, transformation, and dynamic growth. A life that embraces the chaos of the desert, that welcomes the storm, that knows that true strength is only forged in the fire of adversity. The system wants you to choose Osiris. It wants you to stay safe, predictable, and asleep. But your soul, if you listen closely, is calling you into the desert. It is calling you to a greater adventure. SETH was never the villain of the story. He was the catalyst. He was the uncomfortable truth that there is no resurrection without a death, no order without chaos, no strength without a struggle. He is not the hero you were taught to admire, with a shining crown and a gentle hand. He is the gritty, fierce, and necessary hero your soul desperately needs you to become. He is the force that shatters the cage, not the one that makes it comfortable. The journey into these shadow mysteries is not for everyone. It requires a level of courage that most are not ready for. If you feel the call to go deeper, to understand the forces of chaos and order within your own being, we explore these truths without compromise in our newsletter, Insights Academy. The link is in the description. Join us and receive a free copy of the Kabbalion to light your path. In the end, you are the entire myth. You are the peaceful Osiris, living in a world you have built. You are the chaotic SETH, who must tear that world down when it becomes a prison. You are the devoted Isis, who must gather the pieces of your own soul. And you are the resurrected Horus, the divine child of your own transformation. Do not fear your inner SETH. Honor him, integrate him, wield his power with wisdom, for he is not your enemy. He is the sacred fire that will burn away everything you are not, so that everything you are can be born. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting. I understood it.